Well, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got
that. Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. You got script. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
okay,
an
he's good.
erratic
Mikhail
detective is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slapping in young? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, girl, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hi there, good evening. Welcome to another Friday calling edition of the Freddie Kissoon Show. Thanks for being with us. I have a guest co-host, Dr. Mark France, the chairman of a new and united Guyana, ANU. I think you know ANU by now, one of the small parties that had a parliamentary showing, but as you know, that ended in disaster with a lady named Dr. Asha Kissoon. Well, Dr. France has joined us, and he will be taking your calls. His number is on the screen, 695-2432. Please hold your calls because Dr. France has a little priority, which we have accommodated, and he will speak on that priority, which is a two-show guest. Over to Dr. France.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. Freddie, thank you for my presence here as the co-host. We do have an esteemed guest, someone who I have tried for the past year to have on this show, someone who I think can bring a little difference with regard to matters of Amerindian interest. We know that this year, 2025, is a pivotal year, an election year, and as such, we have had the National Tashaus Council. This is the forum where each and every village has a representative here in Georgetown, and they would meet and discuss issues that the indigenous population, but more so the hinterland population, is facing, and look to see how they can address such, raise it with the relevant authorities, and hopefully have a brighter future. Tonight we have one of the Tashaus, someone who is very well known in the Guyanese landscape, someone who is very active on social media. He is the Tashau of the Kako village of Upper Maz. He has a name which has great significance here in Guyana, especially in the Region 7 area, in that his name is Romario Hastings, better known as Capon, the name which he goes by on Facebook. And we have seen him making various commentaries, making the news on numerous occasions, being quoted by some of our topmost leaders here, depending on what is it that he says. So I can give you a little introduction for Capon, how I know him. Romario is a fellow Purple Blood, as I would proudly say. Anyone who has attended the President's College, the school founded by former leader Forbes Barnham, would know that the President's College was intended for the very best of the best. That has somehow been diluted, but that is another story. So Mr. Hastings attended the President's College just like myself. He attended with the smallest sibling of mine. Well, 5 of us attended that school. And he would have graduated, having been very successful at the CSEC level examinations. He would have then moved on to the University of Guyana, where he did environmental studies and had a working stint at the EPA. Mr. Capon then had the wonderful opportunity of having an offer to do a master's scholarship in one of the European countries. I will leave him to describe exactly what that experience was in the introduction of himself. But since then, he has come back. And instead of doing like what many of our indigenous brothers and sisters, when they have elevated themselves with regard to their education, they've normally stayed on the coastline. Mr. Hastings has taken the decision to go back to his roots. And this is something that I will commend him on and commend all young leaders, especially of indigenous origin, something for you to look at and for you to do, whereby you can give back to your communities, you can help to nurture those up-and-coming youngsters and be an example for all to see. Tonight, I introduce to you Romario Hastings, Tushaw of Kako Village. Romario?
A.K.A. Capone.
A.K.A. Capone.
Right.
Yes.
That was after the, that nickname is after the American gangster?
No,
No,
he can actually give you the
Totally not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very unrelated. But thanks for the invitation,
yeah.
Mark.
Let me just take your hand.
Yes, thank you,
Right.
and thanks also for accommodating
Sure,
this.
no problem.
Right. So my name is Romario. This is my government's name, and then I happen to, I would say, adopt a social media name, but not only a social media name, a cultural name, which I have continued to this day, called Capone, which is really a form of self-identity. So it represents being people of the highlands, but the literal translation is like sky people, because in the Akawayo, the kak means sky and the pong means someone from, right? So someone from that area. We identify ourselves as that in the community, mostly instead of Akawayo, but now I find that we tend to use both interchangeably. So Kapong, or you can hear Akawayo, and also sometimes our relatives, I would say like the Patamunas, also use it. So in the indigenous, I would say linguistic landscape, it is something that is familiar that we can all relate to. Right. So that is me culturally, I would say.
Yes. Let me get into something very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Last name Hastings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
We've had a former minister, Don Hastings,
That's his
come
sister.
from the PNC. Are you related to Minister Hastings?
Yeah, and even without introduction, I think I am quickly linked to her, and I have happened to had several experiences on this, and whether it had a positive or a negative, reception, I would say that I have no control over that. But we're related. We come from the same community, and she actually was my primary school teacher in first grade.
Okay.
So yeah, so we come a long way, and she's family.
Okay. So Kapon, you had the opportunity of completing a master's degree in Holland, it was?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Could you share with the listening public, because it's not often that you find indigenous people, especially young indigenous persons, who are qualified and have had such exposure. And because of this, I think you see, and I see things differently from the traditional person who would have grown up. We know indigenous persons sometimes are a bit shy, a bit reserved. You have experienced what Europe is. Right. What exactly you did?
So I did a master's program at the Delft Institute for Water. It was focused on freshwater management, something that I would say was influenced, of course, by my environment, my community, growing up in a mining area. Also working with the EPA, and at that time, the priority was to, I would say, remediate freshwater systems when it comes to mining industry. So all of that, I think, all pushed me, or it was like a thrust towards that direction. The experience, of course, was one that is unforgettable. It definitely widened my experience in terms of academics, culture, and even the approach to education as a whole. I think studying there, I never felt different. That is something that distinguished my education experience there, as opposed to here. Because of the diversity of students, there is just this automatic feeling of I would say some level of family and brotherhood, because people are coming from different cultures, and yet we all have that same ambition of learning. I would say firstly learning, having a conducive environment, the lecturers, the tutors, the mentors also especially, which I think significantly impacted how I my whole experience, where they're just there daily to support you, emotional support, academic support, the resources. I don't think I would have imagined having to experience such a scope. But of course, it made me realize what education could be if we truly invested in it holistically, and also to make it an experience that every student can enjoy. Education should be an enjoyable journey, and regardless of whether you're in a minority or not, it should really mold you as a person overall. So that is it.
Perfect. I have had this similar experience of studying in a foreign country, and I can say that when you go and study overseas, there is no longer any Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, Indigenous Guyanese. We're all Guyanese. We're proud to hold up our flag. And that experience has changed me so much so that I no longer see persons here as Indo, Afro, Amerindian, Indigenous Guyanese. Instead, I see all as being Guyanese. And if I'm to have a say in terms of how we address the Guyanese population, I feel a lot can be done just by addressing us as Guyanese. Something similar to what has happened in Rwanda, whereby you had the division with the Tutsis and the Hutus, and then when President Kagame came on board, that was abolished. You could not have used that back. Now, you took a decision that is not normal. You were working with the EPA. You went and studied in an area that the EPA needs. Staying with the EPA or an organization here on the coast, you decided to go back and serve your people.
Right.
Could you say why? And now, what is the experience like in being the village leader, the Tushao, the leader of your village? And how do you see this as being either a positive influence for persons there and for your community? And give us insight into some of the work that you have done, some of the positive things that you're doing for your community.
Okay, good. It was not an easy decision. I must be frank about that. There were two things in mind. Firstly, I have I would say, an inherent drive towards community support, community leadership. And I always say that no one understands your issues better than yourself, because you grew up in that area. You can speak to it. And so you also can be a person that can derive solutions to some of those issues. And I would say another advantage was that you having education on the coast, you serve as an interface between these two totally different environments, the politics, the business, the way things are done here, as opposed to the hinterland where things are a bit more slow, right? So that was the first. I always saw that for Indigenous leadership to take a next stage, you need to have an experience in both settings. The other part of it for me now was the self-interest, because some people saw it as a stepping back out of the light, because instead of advancing forward, you're going back into the community. What is there for you? Like Romario, what is there for you in the community? There's so much more things you can do. Maybe you can start an NGO, start an Indigenous organization, since you're always about advocacy and speaking on Indigenous peoples. But I thought that if I am to give back to community, now it's the time, because I'm in my youth, I have the energy, and I have the drive, I have the ambition. So I decided to go back to work with within our district as a program coordinator with our district council. And then, although it was not my specific plan for that year, It happened to be elections year for the Tushaws. And so knowing that I'm back in the area, they approached me and I said, well, if it is the people's will, then so be it. It wasn't a matter of campaigning. It is the public's choice. And I just accepted that. So that's where I am today. What I have been doing now is trying to utilize my education and also maybe some of the skills that I would have acquired at the EPA. As you would have introduced me, I have a lot of environmental background, environmental governance, and environmental management. And being in indigenous communities requires this level of governance. So it's about moving from just being, I would say, maybe focusing on just projects. My focus has also been on what other systems can you develop for a more wider level of management, especially when it comes to our resources, which indigenous peoples are known for the forest, for the water. And I think it is quite an ideal time because Guyana is finding itself a lot in the conversations on biodiversity conservation, on climate change. We're talking about LCDS, which was the topic from Monday to Friday during the NTC. So there couldn't be a better time than to be in a community as a leader. I would say maybe contributing to the conversations at the community level. And also as a leader, you are given the opportunity to find yourselves in these platforms. Having said that, the challenge, however, is that there is so much to do as a Tushaw that you can hardly focus on one thing. Tushaws do not have the technical support as any like a minister would have, you know. We have to do that all on our own. You have a council, but you have to understand that they are at a different level and there's only so much that they can do. So that has been a major challenge. Nevertheless, one of the strengths I would say is that you have to build a network. You have to build partnership while leading a village council to be able to do certain things. And I think that has been one of the, I would say, the factors that has sustained some of the efforts that I've been doing in terms of like ensuring I also acquire access to other projects. For me, for indigenous growth and indigenous independence, I would say you have to look at various sources of resources and even knowledge, and whether if it's for your project or for your management plan, for your village plan. There's so many things that that has to be done. Your village rules. Like even in the Rupununi, they're working on like a headwaters management plan, which is I think is quite innovative and pioneering in the work of conservation, which I respect them a lot for. So in the Upamas, we haven't really done a lot of this in terms of like documenting all of the work that we do. And again, this is where youthful leadership is needed, because you need somebody with basic IT skills, communication skills, writing skills, and importantly, to be able to speak on them yourself. Because many times, I think this has been the issue that organizations speak for you or does somebody else speak for you. But I think the power for indigenous people should lie in being able to speak for themselves as leaders, as youth reps, as women reps. No one else should be able to tell your story better than you do, and that is my conviction.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you're here currently. The National Tushaws Council would have had their conference. Is it finished?
Yeah, it's
officially
wrapped up today.
Finished. So the 17th annual National Tushaws Conference under the theme robust governance for sustainable village development. And I know you mentioned that a lot was said about the LCDs, and this is a topic that is the forte of none other than our vice president. And I'm guessing he would have had robust conversations with all of the Tushaws. You did mention that there is no one better than young leaders who are from the villages, who live in the villages, to identify the issues faced and to see ways and means whereby they can be addressed. As you know, I am the chair of a political party. And in our statement that we put out with regard to the NTC 2025, we have asked, because we have seen a dearth in in young leadership, especially among the indigenous/hinterland population. So we have asked for our village leaders to have formal leadership training. I think that is very, very important. We want leadership training in terms of governance, and this is something ANUG is pushing for. Financial management. We have seen an increase in the monies that are being allocated to various villages.
Correct.
And so you need to be able to prudently manage your finances. Auditing skills. You may not have it in your village, but you may be able to liaison with organizations that can do same, because we know that at the village level, you must have accountability. You must have transparency. You must be able to say that these are the monies that we would have gotten, and this is what we have done down to the last dollar. And so the population can have trust and can give you their support. Public speaking. Many persons who are elected village leaders, senior councillors, tashals, chairmen for the other organizations, the CDCs, come with limited, what we call the normal education. They come with limited education, and some may be versed in their dialects and not necessarily so in the English language. And so when they come out here, a lot of those persons have to be given guidance, have to get some help in putting forward their proposals. And so I see this as an important area where the government of the day, but more so all leaders, should pay attention to help elevate the leaders in the villages. Because we know that if you start to have better leadership at the village level, then this will be the knock-on effect all the way up to the highest levels of governance. In your experience, in your interactions with your fellow senior councillors, tashals, CDC chairs, what can you say with regard to this? And how can the NTC, as the body that is responsible for the overarching look at issues among the indigenous populations, how can they help to address the dearth of leadership so that we can have better governance at the council levels?
Right. All of that, all of what you said is indeed some of the gaps that exist in terms of leadership. And we recognize that as one of the primary challenge of today, even in the past too. But I think they within their own capacity made the representation. I want to share perhaps what we're trying to do at the district level, as we have recognized this. And I think this is where the support of your different partners come in.
This is the Upper Mas district?
Upper Mas,
Okay.
right, Upper Mas, because
for those who may not know, can you probably tell us how many villages are there in the Upper Mas,
Right.
and probably list some that people may know of?
So we
Mr.
have
Kissoon may not know of them.
Very ignorant of it.
That's why he's quiet. He was very loud the other day.
Yes, so we have, I saw that. So we have 8 villages in Upper Mas, Roni. So we have Upper Mas, you have Middle, and you have Lower Mas. In Upper Mas, you have 8 villages. You have 7 of them are Akawayo communities, which means they speak Akawayo, and one Arikuna, which is Guyana's only Arikuna community, which is Parima. Right, so we
take a trip to Parima, Mr. Kissoon. They call it the cleanest village in the entire Guyana.
And I think
and they have wonderful photo shoots that you can do there.
Yeah, quite a scenic place.
Yeah, once you pay the airfare, it's fine.
So that was
I'm very
the subject.
sure if you reach out to your viewers here and say, here's what we want to take a trip, take the show up to the Upper Mas, speak with some of the villagers, the issues affecting them, you're gonna get it. But let's go back to him.
Yeah, so we've been trying to do like several leadership trainings and workshops with our partners, because I always say that this is part of I would say nurturing governance at a local level. So when we speak about benefits to communities, I as a leader, I always see it as you have the material benefits that you can get from different entities, which are often financial for a specific objective. And then you have the immaterial one, where these are more like skills building or softer skills like leadership, management. And you need to have both, because if you don't have one and you have all of the monies coming in, like you rightly said, then you will face issues of accountability. And I think there have been quite numerous examples of those. just from seeing in the media sometimes. So we're trying to do that, but I think there should be maybe a more of like a coordinated effort from, like, say, NGOs and even from maybe the government level to really strengthen the leadership capacity of communities. They do training like in the different acts, the Amerindian acts, and so and some even part of financial management, but these cannot be ad hoc. They have to be continuous. They have to be continuous, and the resources must be there. The other part is, I would say, the councils have to be encouraged to include youth leadership every administrative cycle. There must be active mentorship.
Continuity.
Correct. So I know of one village that have been literally been, I would say, like molding a counselor, right? So the intention is that eventually, I would say, he or she should be able to graduate into the chairmanship or into being to show. Being able to
again
understand.
that is a process, because it's a transparent election.
It's a process, right? It's a process. So but communities can decide as to who they want to be as a leader, and they can decide to develop their own leader, like because that is important. Although it means that everybody have a choice, in terms of nominees, but where the options are often, I would say, scarce in many of the communities. Sometimes that is the direction they take. But in my opinion, I would say that it always comes back to continuous mentorship from previous leaders. So my advice has always been that previous Toshal should always play an active role, even regardless of if they're within the council or not, to help support the current administration. So that is what I would say for now in terms of the leadership gap for our community.
We've seen it's an election year. Right. And we know politics is very heavy in elections here. Mm-hmm. We have seen the politicization of elections even at the village council levels. Mm-hmm. We have seen persons actively campaigning for the major parties and as individual candidates sometimes. Mm-hmm. And some persons even having access to finance from the parties which they support, in offering not only material, but also leadership and other aspects. Mm-hmm. And as such, we have seen complaints that sometimes the NTC is heavily politicized. We have seen complaints. For example, I was at the opening ceremony, and persons, as the act permits for you to actually sit in at the NTC mm-hmm. meetings, persons were denied entry there. Mm-hmm. I myself, I can speak my personal experience. I was there waiting 2 hours before I've gotten accreditation to go in. But we have seen persons who waited over 3 hours and then they were turned away. I saw with my own eyes the chair of the NTC, one Mr. Derek John Toshal of Maraikabai Village, the only village in Region 5 that is indigenous, come out and say that that the building is packed to capacity. And when I was inside, there was a plethora of open space out there, vast swaths of open space. So we know for sure that was not true, and the persons who were turned away were less than 20 in number, possibly. So certain leaders have been accused of being politicized and politicizing the NTC. Mm-hmm. What we have asked, and this is my party I'm speaking for, is for the NTC to have adequate representation for all, to be independent of political directive. Also, in the planning, and you were a member of the Secretariat, I think you are on the Secretariat representing Region 7, or you were last year?
I am. What time is going?
Yeah, I am for the 3 years.
For the 3 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. Your protocols with regard to how your meetings are kept, who is allowed to be a part of those meetings, mm-hmm. How much of a say do the actual persons who are there in the Secretariat have? Or is it just defined? Is it done by a majority vote? Is it done via input from the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs? How that works out? Because I can see if you can fix this at the protocol level, at the logistic level, then you mm-hmm. shouldn't have these issues. And I'm going to close here. We can have this conversation for the next 1.5 hours. But yeah, just to explain a little in terms of the functioning of the NTC.
That's
It's
that
not for you.
one.
If this is going to put you in any hot water.
Yeah, no.
I know what time is
Yeah. All I would say is that ideally, it should have been the involvement of all of the executive, because I have been asked personally as to whether I know about certain things, the accreditation, this and that. But
you did not.
But I was clueless, and I would just end it there.
Wonderful. Mr. Hastings, I thank you for being on the program.
Thank you as well.
We should have this conversation, you alone, for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, right? You're always going to have an invitation. I know Mr. Kissoon is going to be prepared in the future to have you, and he can ask you the hard questions. By the way, the Village Parima, they actually have a representative at our National Assembly. The Tashal for Parima Village is Pimon Lee Williams, I think is his name. He is a member there on behalf of the PPP. So, yes.
So, we should have him on the program.
So we're making a call here, and not only for the MPs who come from the indigenous villages, but also for the Honorable Minister of Armenian Affairs. And I'm going to call her out here for you, Mr. Kissoon. You said you've tried to get her on your program. At a time like this, I think it is very important for the utmost leader with regard to indigenous affairs, Armenian affairs, to be here, to be able to speak to the Guyanese population, to answer the hard questions, and of course to sell the good work that the PPP have done for the last 4.5 years for the Guyanese people, especially the indigenous population. I thank you very much, and you have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care, man.
I'll go in. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, well, we got to bring this phone here. You got to close. Could you bring that? Could you pass it on? Now, when the phone rings, you have to put your cell on speaker, right?
Yeah.
Good. So, we had a 20-minute chat with one of the Tushals. The Tushal conference has just ended, and Dr. Mark France asked that we facilitate him. Quite an interesting young man. So the lines are open for you to talk on anything at all. Call us and put your questions to me or Dr. Mark France. The WhatsApp number is 695-2432. And of course, you know the landline, 231-2982. So while we wait for your call, Dr. France and I can have a chat about our last program in which he was one of the guests.
Yeah.
We could talk about any other thing. So those are the numbers. You have to watch your venue.
Yeah. The last program was about the Miss Adrianna Young tragedy and everything that it entails. But I would also like to highlight something else. Last Wednesday, the same time when we shot the program, it was the 2nd anniversary of the Madhya fires. The fires whereby 21 young Guyanese lives, mostly of indigenous descent, were lost. Who is to be blamed is still to be determined ultimately. We have seen a commission of inquiry being held and a report being produced. But what we've also seen is that the matter is still not resolved because various members of families for those persons who would have lost their lives have taken the government to court and are looking for some sort of settlement with regard to the loss that they have. Quite an unfortunate situation. And I do hope that all leaders, inclusive of those in the incumbent, can pay some retrospection there and fix the system so that we would not have such an incident occurring ever again in our dear land of Guyana. The other thing is that, for me, what is important, I didn't get to ask young Hastings, is very soon, Sunday it is, the government is going to be, the government of Venezuela is going to be having an election. I think I'm having a call.
Yeah,
Let me
put it in speaker.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Very good evening to you, sir. Hello?
Yeah, yes, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Hi, sir. I have some concerns. I know it's an open program that you can chat about what you wanted. However, 2 weeks ago, the government have launched a program throughout, I can't say throughout the length and breadth of Guyana, the coconut industry or something like that, with the Ministry of Agriculture, etc. I wanted to commend the Ministry of Agriculture for that program. It's a well organized program that I have. However, coconut is not just picking coconut and it will be sold to the market. I believe that they should have a coconut factory that can utilize the fiber and make use of the use of that coconut. Right? That's just one. Secondly, the ambassador for England, for the United Kingdom, for UK or England.
The ambassador or the high commissioner you're talking about?
Yeah, the high commissioner or something like that for Guyana. She was at a program talking about our raw materials that are leaving our shores that Guyanese of the South have not seen the benefit of these raw materials. And she was talking about that they should have factories, they should have institutions that could utilize these raw materials that just leave in our shores and go out abroad just from a foreign exchange or whatever. I believe that's a tremendous good idea that ambassador share with our people that come up with that idea. So much of things that is leaving our country, and I share that concern few weeks ago, pertaining to gold and etc. That I believe that they should have got a legislation, and I don't want to talk about legislation because I wanted to say something about that. So pertaining to our natural resources. However, last one. There's a lot of things going on social media. And persons use social media to criticize, condemn, and even use vulgar languages and have children and have persons of high integrity is on this same social media platform. I believe this is where I call upon the Legal Affairs Minister, Mr. Nandalal, a very important guy. I have no problem. I don't know personal problem with him. That he could use his office to get a legislation to curb the attitudes of persons that use this platform for spread anti-propaganda news and bring those people. I am not saying anything pertaining to this young lady dead because they have not finished with nothing as far as I'm concerned. The investigation is still going on, so I would have nothing to say about that.
Perfect.
When the investigation is done,
okay,
then I will say something.
All right, good. Thank you very much, sir. We've heard your 3 points, and we'll emphasize a little on it. So
thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you. We got in a call, but we're gonna answer the 3 questions. He spoke about the coconut industry and the launch of the coconut industry. He spoke about the need for making higher value-added products. The ambassador's call, and of course, some amount of censorship of social media. We know that is a very touchy topic because there are rules and regulations that govern how social media is used.
Oh, you have a call.
And we have a caller coming in. We'll expound on that.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good night, sir.
Good night to you. Go ahead and make your contribution.
Why we continue talking about Adrianna Young and the people, the family, they don't want to put the girl down. I think Guyana needs to rest her now. It's a long time now we dealing with this. You don't think it's time by now? You don't think the family using this girl now to make money or something?
That is an insinuation of yours, sir. unless you're a part of the family and know the intricacies of what is happening, that is an assumption you're making.
Okay, but let him finish. Yeah, go on, son. You finished?
No, this time the girl raises a small child. I think it's time.
That's it? That's it?
This one, I like funny program there. Jabor. He's a racial guy. He don't like Indian people. Kian Jabor. The other night he went there on the program.
Uh-huh.
He don't like Indian people. He really bad talking Indians. Why are you doing that?
Where did you get that from? Given that I know Mr. Jabor in person, and he is of Indo-Guyanese ethnicity. So you're saying he don't like himself?
He's half Indian.
Whether you're half or not, you have it in you. What did he say against the Indo-Guyanese population or Indians, as you're mentioning? And I hope you're not mentioning those from India. So that's why I said Indo-Guyanese population. Is that your understanding?
Let him have his say. Go ahead, sir. Hello? You finished? Hello?
Yeah.
You got another
So no. So the coconut industry, this is not something that is new. We know that we have been producing coconuts and the various byproducts of the coconut industry to a certain scale. We are exporting the coconut waters, right? We know we've had the copra that we've been dealing with and making oil. We're making virgin coconut oil, and some companies have also made use of the coconut husk. So yes, I do agree. And the government's push and Guyana's push should be for the diversification of our economy. We can't depend on the traditional sectors. So agriculture, this is something that we can address because we have land in abundance. We have very fertile lands, especially on the coast where the coconuts are grown. So for example, the Pomeroon is the hub of coconut in Guyana. You go there, you're going to see major players in the coconut industry. Okay, we're getting a call. Hello, good night. You're on to the Freddie Kissoon Show. Welcome tonight, and we would love to hear your contribution. Go ahead.
Hi, good night, Dr. Franz.
Good night,
good night, Mr. Kissoon. I only learned today this big hullabaloo about the bloated voters list. I only learned today that over 600,000 people registered for the cash grant, and those are eligible voters because they had to be 18 years and over. What is your say on that? I know you. I don't know if you are one of them in the opposition that is fighting for a new list. I don't know if you could answer that.
Thank you.
And one other question. Your friend last week, what is his immigration status in Guyana? Would he be able to serve in parliament if he gets into government or get a seat in the opposition?
You're talking about Mr. Jabor?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes. Those are the questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll answer it. So we know that the current list of electors that is produced by GCOM is actually at 716,000. Thereabouts. It's 715 and change. We've also seen a constant call by the opposition, especially the major opposition, ANUG aside, for the list to be sanitized, for there to be house-to-house registration. ANUG has been consistent in its position that there are laws that govern how that list is produced. We have all subscribed to a process whereby we have something called continuous registration. We also know that as long as you are entitled to be the holder of a Guyanese passport or a Guyanese identification card, then you are entitled to be on that list of electors. We know the complaints whereby there are complaints that persons who may reside overseas or may have died overseas, their names are still on this list and it's difficult for them to be removed. Our call is for there to be improved mechanisms with regard to what the relevant agencies here in Guyana and those overseas countries whereby that information can be filtered down, and according to the law, how you remove the name of a person for those names to remove. As long as that cannot be done, we have to respect the law as it exists, and we have to respect that voters list. Now, 600 plus thousand persons registering for the cash grant is an indication that indeed our population, probably the mature population, is around there. We know for sure that the other cash grant that is given out, the school children's cash grant, is given out to, I think it is 204, 205,000 students, and this is changing. So we know that it's thereabouts. I'm having the next call.
You could continue.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon show. I am the... Okay. With regard to the second part of that question, Mr. Jabour, who is seen as one of the founding leaders of ANUG, and I can even add Mr. Timothy Jonas, also one of the founding members of ANUG, both of them are dual citizens. And as the law with regard to who can be who can sign up to go into parliament, neither of the two individuals can at this moment, unless they relinquish their citizenship to the other countries. One is from England, one is from Canada. They are unable and have been unable at the 2020 election cycle to be a representative of ANUG in parliament. And that has a lot to do with why I am here tonight as the chair, but the co-host, but I'm the chair of a political party, because neither of the two gentlemen could be that person, and as such, they have allowed other leaders to take the floor. Good evening to you. Could you kindly turn down the volume of your
We're
device?
getting the feedback. Turn down your volume, please.
And go ahead with your contributions. Welcome to the show. Good night.
Dr. Franz, very good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
So I'm calling with concern to this school. They got a school in East Street named Isa Islamic School. It's a secondary and primary private school.
It's a private school.
So
yeah.
I got two children going to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the child rights common entrance recently, waiting on result. And now this is a problem not for only me, but for other parents, and everybody frightened, right? The stories like this now. So the children them doing nothing in school. Now it's $70,000 per term per child. Children them doing nothing in school. So the parents them decide to keep the children them home until they get the result. Now the school implement a system now. If you don't send your children to school, they can't graduate. And when they get a result, if you choose to send your child back to the same school, they would be denied entry in the school because the child didn't go for the period of time before they get a result. Now, that is totally unfair. Why pay $70,000 until the common entrance result come out and the children them is doing nothing in school? It's real unfair, and the Ministry of Education should look in at it. Now, it's more than one parent's concern. When they go take it to the head of the school, they turn and say they can't do nothing. There's a system. If your child comes to school for the period of time, they can't graduate. And if you choose to send them back based on whatever result, and you choose to continue going to school, they can't come to the school no more.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
The ministry should look into it. It's a serious matter.
And this is quite revealing, because this is something that is happening right next to where I work. I work at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, and I am not aware. So I was ignorant of this, that is happening. What I do know is that...
It's unfair, because why your child going to the school all the time, why they can't graduate?
Thank you. I know that private schools have their own rules and regulations, but they also come under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education, which would normally dictate how students are to be treated in any school in Guyana, whether it's public or private. I do know that we have a very active Minister of Education who is even more active than myself on social media. And as such, if we reach out to her, and I'm going to reach out personally to her, So
Yeah, man,
let them
I
do
the guys real and
let them
pay
do the
money.
investigations with regard to
Investigation,
the matter that is
pay the
being
money.
raised, because I know that $70,000 is quite a sum for persons who are attending the private schools. But again, we know that in the private schools, you would have signed up to the rules and regulations of whomever is running that school. But what sounds unfair is that if you finish and because no teaching is being done, that still has to be clarified. Why is it that they're telling you that you will be unable to graduate, even though you may get your results? And if you want to continue, then of course you may have some issues. I will most certainly raise that
teaching,
with
the teaching, the children doing it school, how? But they're doing not much, right?
Okay.
So the parents decide to take the child home and take the child home until they get it.
Okay, we'll raise that, and I'll reach out to the minister herself. I'll remember that. Thank you very much for your contribution. We have a next call. Thank you. Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show.
Mr. France. Two things to Freddie, right?
Yes. All to you, Mr. Kissoon.
No, it's okay. I can hear you.
Concerning the Adrianna Young case, is he aware that the pathologist that was chosen by the family was bought and paid for by the government? And they're the ones that would have given that pathologist to the family and would have paid the pathologist to do the pathology on behalf of the family? And also concerning the water samples from the pool. 1 week after this situation happened, the police hadn't even figured out who is doing what and what they're investigating. So how is it that, or who had the foresight and when did this happen that the police went and took samples of the water from the pool in order to be able to compare what was being found in Adrianna's body, etc., lungs, etc.?
Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. I'll leave the floor open there for Mr. Kissoon to answer you.
Okay.
He's asking if you're aware that... Yeah.
If I'm aware of...
If you're aware that the pathologist that came on behalf
Dr.
of the
Collins,
family,
yeah.
Dr. Collins, the pathologist from the state of Delaware of the U.S., he was actually paid for and accommodated by the government of Guyana.
He's asking if that happened.
He's telling you that if you're aware that that happened.
That did not happen.
Okay.
The Vice President, Mr. Jagdeo, at a press conference said the government did not finance or the government did not provide those resources for Dr. Collins. So those Dr. Collins stay in Guyana on whatever it entails. According to the Vice President, the government did not sponsor him.
Okay. The other two that came, the one from Mount Sinai and the one from
Yes,
Barbados,
the government.
they were paid and accommodated for by the government.
Not Dr. Collins.
So you have your answer there. And the other question is with regard to the police and their operations, and how is it that they cannot answer whether or not they would have taken off the samples to compare what is it that is being found in the samples that were taken off from the body of Miss Young. With regard to that, what I do know and what is out there in the public space is that samples were taken from the body by the 3 pathologists and sent overseas. I know to 2 labs, one from Mount Sinai and the next lab in the States. And comparative samples were taken from the pool. Who took them, when exactly they were taken, under what circumstances they were stored and then sent overseas, has never been made clear to the public, and I am with the same information that is out there in the public as you are. So the other thing that you mentioned is why has the police not acted with regard to their investigation and probably share that information? You're saying that they have not acted. Maybe they have. We know, for example, there have been calls for everyone who was present at the facility on that day, specifically during that time, to be possibly questioned with regard to what they were doing, what they saw, and if they had any hand in what happened to young Miss Young. That is for the police's investigation to finalize, to carry out. So they should know who were the staff, who were the visitors, who left when, and for them to have a holistic investigation or investigative process. We have seen a lack of communication from the police force for one reason or the other. And the only time they came out and said something was when the Facebook policemen and women started giving their own versions of what was happening. And so the police came out and issued a press release with regard to the information that they have on hand. And we know that following that, there has been discussions with the family and members of the police force. So that is where we are. Good evening to you and welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. I'm Dr. Mark Franz with co-host Mr. Kissoon. Thank you, and let's have your contribution.
Yes, Mr. Franz. My question is, how and when were these samples taken when 1 week after this incident happened, the police hadn't even figured out who is investigating what, when the place would have already burned down and the pool would have already been drained? How and when did the police collect these samples from the pool in order to compare what was found in Adrianna's lungs? That's the question I'm asking.
Thank you very much. And I explained just now that on record, the police has said that they have taken these samples. When it was done, by whom and under what process, it is for them to explain. I am just giving you the information that is out there in the public space. So if you're claiming that because the police has said they didn't have a system in place, that does not negate that they may have before sent an officer or two to take the samples from the pool before it was destroyed or contaminated. That is not for me to say. I don't know if you have inside information from the police force and know their protocol in terms of what was done, but that is what has been released to the public from the police force. That is the official information that is out there.
Okay, well, in the hopes of transparency, that's something that they should come out and speak about because the public wants to know when and how that was done.
But most certainly, and our call and all Guyanese should call for a transparent investigative process, for there to be constant communication with the relevant authorities, the police force, the crime chief, and if there are any foreign persons who are here of repute and working with the investigative process, for them to also have constant communication with the Guyanese public, because this is the only way, I think, that we can allay the fears that are out there from a significant section of the Guyanese population, because given the behavior of the police force, given their lack of standard operating protocols or adherence to standard operating protocols, there is a high level of mistrust of the police force. And that is all that Guyana wants to see. We want to trust the police force. We want them to give us an independent investigation, one that is transparent, one that is accountable, and one that holds whomever is responsible for whatever happened to young Miss Young.
Right.
That is our call. Thank you. Good. Coming back to the first caller, they mentioned the diversification of the coconut industry. Now, this is something that we can work a whole lot on. We know that we have ample lands. We know that we can now, when we have cheaper energy, because a major bugbear of the Guyanese economy was the prohibitive cost of energy. And if you do any research, you see they have various, the ease of doing business, that's what it's called. It's a ranking. We having a caller coming. Hi, good evening to you. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. You're live. Kindly make your contribution. I'm Dr. Franz. Mr. Kissoon is here.
Hi, good night, Mr. Freddie and Dr. Franz.
Good night.
I'm calling concerning, I just listened to you guys that GCOM have a record of this register of ID card, right?
Yes, they do.
And then the government system, whatever share the cash grant to it, them have a record too.
They have run a parallel system whereby they would have recorded information for all those who are eligible to receive the cash grant.
Right, exactly. Good. Okay, here it is here now. My son will be 18 next week, 30th. All right, now he didn't sign up for the cash grant, right? That is one. Now he could become 18 the 30th. So coming up September when the election now, he go
He's eligible to vote.
Right. You're eligible to vote?
Yes.
You're gonna be over 18 then.
Mm-hmm.
So he was not going to be in the system of the register of the cash grant,
Mm-hmm.
but he could be registered for the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be many more
Mm-hmm.
of them of that age. So how GCOM and how the government will produce that information publicly to the public? Because if the government has 600 persons give out the cash grant, and GCOM have 700 bodies of ID card.
So the answer is quite simple to that. The cash grant was done on the basis of having attained a certain age by a particular time. So I think it was the 31st of January of 2025. If you did not reach 18 by that time, I may be wrong, but it's either there or 31st of December, sometime around there. If you did not attain the age of 18, then you are ineligible for this version of the cash grant. The hope is, and we have seen pronouncements from the incumbent government, the vice president inclusive, that we may have future cash grants, maybe not necessarily before election, maybe after the next budget is passed. We will have future cash grants. And if they use the same criteria, then your son and all persons who were ineligible due to age at that cutoff time will now qualify for a future cash grant. So that explains the difference. Now, with regard to GCOM and its functioning, I mentioned that there is a continuous process of registration, whereby when you've reached a certain age, and I think it's 16 years and some time, when you reach there, they start registering you for an identification card. Now, once you have that identification card, and if you're 18 years by the cutoff date for an election cycle, then you are eligible to be on, first of all, the preliminary list of electors, the one that is normally posted, and then you have whereby you can make your claims and objections. And then after that, you have your official list of electors prior to the elections. So they're capturing that information from when you're 16. And once you have that first identification, that stays with you for the rest of your life. You can change it, you can update it. If you've changed your address, these things can change, but you're going to be in the system. And as long as you're the holder of a national identification card or a passport, you're eligible to vote as a Guyanese citizen. What I do know is that there are also certain sections of the population. For example, if you're a Commonwealth citizen, domiciled in Guyana for more than 1 year, you're eligible for a Guyanese identification card. I have had the personal experience where a fellow doctor from Nigeria who's been here for 3 years and would have applied for citizenship, having gotten an identification card, he is still awaiting that approval from the relevant authorities. He asked me personally to see if I can intervene on his behalf, and I have reached out to some of the senior dignitaries in the Home Affairs Ministry and that area to see what is the issue with him after 3 years of application, not getting his citizenship as yet. We know that we have lots of Commonwealth nationals here in Guyana, whether it's for studying purposes or they're doing businesses. So for example, we know we have lots of Nigerian students in the medical system. We have lots of Indian students in the medical system. We have students from other countries, other sister Caribbean countries who are here in the medical system. And I'm just speaking about the area which I am. We know we have visitors and persons coming from all over. All of these persons, once they're rightfully here, they came through legitimate means and they would have completed the required time frame. Commonwealth nations, 1 year living in your country legitimately, then they can apply for an identification card. And once they have that and they're above the age of 18, then they're eligible to vote. So when we look at the population that is on the official list of electors, it can be a reflection of not only Guyanese, but persons who qualify to be on that list. And that is why we may have a list that seems a bit large sometimes, but we know the reasons why it is large. Okay? Good. Yeah. Mr. Kissoon, I've taken all the questions. You want to add anything?
No. Thanks.
Good. Coming to, again, the first caller. Mention the call for from the British High Commissioner.
Do you have any calls?
No call right now. The British High Commissioner for us to produce high value products. Now, we have seen that Guyana is a rich country. First, it was sugar in the 70s and 80s. Then it was gold in the 90s and noughties, right? We saw Omai coming here and some people say raping our country and claiming that they've never made a profit. And so the Guyanese man and woman, unless you would have been working directly with them, you haven't seen the true benefit of this resource. Now we have oil. It just so happened that by lady luck, we've struck oil and we're able to see some amount of development due to the amount of monies that are being invested in this area. But we can no longer continue to be a country that produces just raw materials and export it out there for the pittance that you get. We know for sure that we're producing sugar at a cost that is prohibitive in that it is much less than what sugar is being sold at on the world market. So we have to add value to our sugar. And that is what this current government has been trying to do, albeit with some level of success and more failure. We've seen the recent call that the first crop is short by 19,000 tons, I think. Okay, so we can no longer just look to do raw products. We should no longer look to do just brown sugar, unrefined sugar, bauxite, raw gold that is being exported, timber, raw timber that is being exported, whether it's in the form of logs or it's cut up. We must add value to our products. What has stopped us in the past is energy. And that is why if you go to one of your supermarkets or your shop today, you can see a Trinidadian bottle of beer. Let's use Stag for the example, being sold for $4,000. And the comparative Banks beer produced here in Guyana, $3,000 thereabouts. It is because the cost to produce the Banks beer here in Guyana is much more expensive than what Trinidad is paying. And so we've been flooded with imports from our sister nations and from further afield, some through legitimate channels and some through illegal means.
Excuse me. Operator, can you hear me? Adaiki? I don't think the landline is working. I was wondering why we weren't having calls. Operator.
You called it?
Yeah, I called it. You want to call it?
Right. Good.
Operator. Adaiki, can you hear me? I want.
So on social media, we have a question here. Question for Dr. France. How would you rate the performance of the President, PM, VP, and ministers during the National Tush House Conference? I can say that, personally speaking, I was only able, because of work commitments, to attend the opening ceremony of the National Tush House Conference. And I saw a robust presentation from His Excellency President Mohamed Irfan Ali, whereby he highlighted the track record of the PPP in comparison to that of the previous government. And I have openly said that if you're ever going to compare what the APNU FC did in their time in government and what the PPPC is doing, there's no comparison at all. The PPP, hands down, have done much better. Yes, when you compare the resources that were available, they have spent a whole lot more. So they've mentioned that the APNU FC would have spent close to $1 trillion for their 4 years, 5 years almost. One of the PPP's current budget is 1.4 billion, and last year it was 1.2 billion, and they've had supplementary budget. So that's no comparison to it. So we should expect more. What we do need to see is that we have value for the dollar that is being spent. And that is where the question arises, whether or not we are having value for our monies that are being spent. Now, I am still to see
from the phone.
The entire presentations from the Honorable Prime Minister, from the Vice President, from the other ministers. But I do know from the news articles that are out there that a lot has been promised to the indigenous populations. Hi, good evening. We have a caller from outside here. This is the Freddie Kissoon Show. I am Dr. France, and this is Mr. Freddie Kissoon. Thank you for calling, and let's have your contribution.
Yeah, good night. This is Mr. Frank. You are the same person that was on Wednesday program?
Yes, I was. That was myself and one of the members of ANUG, Mr. Kian Jabur.
Yeah, well,
No
I just
sound.
want to make two comments, right?
Go
One
ahead.
of the comment is Mr. Kissoon. Every time he talks about recently, like since he started this program, every time he talk about Barajak there, he somehow something changed, and he like me remember he tell David Hines, are you saying that the vice president is lying? And he do as if Barajak there don't lie. Me not saying that he does lie, but me saying that Mr. Kissoon do like if Barajak there don't lie. And the thing is, something changed. And just now again, he talked something about Barajak there. The vice president said that the doctor didn't get paid and whatever, right? Whether if it's truth or lie, the way in how he just talk, when he mentioned the vice president, it does be like something special happened in the past couple of years. Because me remember, before me leave and thing, right? He used to there quarreling from Jennifer Webster and Barajak there and thing. Real bad quarreling and real bad, you know? So it surprised me that when he talked about Barajak there now, it's like something special happened in the past 2-3 years. And me not understand that. And the next thing is, well, even something again special happened to you, Mr. Frank.
Perfect.
What happened is that Wednesday gone, when you was on the program, you could have hardly hear you. You wasn't talking. You was like a quiet person. One time you talk and thing. Now, you know, you even take over the program. Mr. Freddie was normally control and behave bad and think he get quiet, and you just think so. Special things happening.
All right, sure.
And that is why, because special things happening, that is why the family and most of Guyana want a second autopsy.
All right, sure. Thank you very much.
Special thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. I'll let Mr. Kissoon go first, and then I'll add something.
No, people.
Well,
people
we're
have
waiting
a
on your
right.
call. But
the phones
let
are
me tell
open
you,
for people to give their viewpoint.
I have followed Mr. Kissoon for the last 15 years
let's
with
proceed.
regard to his writings, his commentary.
Dr.
And everyone is entitled to their view, whether it's last year, this year, or next year.
Just go on with your go on.
Okay.
People have a right. This forum is for people to express.
Yeah.
the viewpoint.
So we're talking.
We didn't cut him off.
No.
So let's move on.
The last program, Mr. Kissoon and Mr. Jabur, they had a robust conversation.
Well, it's not true that you were quiet.
No, I spoke.
You didn't raise your voice like Kian Jabur and I.
And yourself.
And you wouldn't gesticulating.
Right.
But you
it was their show. I made my contributions when I could have, but I could understand if probably I didn't make enough. But I'll always have this forum according to Mr. Kissoon, and you can ask any question or anything with regard to any topic, and I'm willing to answer it.
You were more reserved, quieter, than myself and Jibu, but you made your point. So,
okay, right. So continue with this until we get the next caller. The various ministers, and I know for sure that the vice president at the NTC would have spent considerable time explaining to the indigenous population all of the work, whether it's good, and they're saying good, or not so good, that the government would have put in. And it's politics. They're comparing what was done previously and what was being done now, or by the incumbent. We're having a call here. Good evening. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. This is Dr. France. Mr. Kissoon is here. Thank you for calling. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. I look at you guys' show Wednesday night when everybody was screaming. Dr. Frank, you were pretty resourceful there. But let's get it right. I am asking the question, and everybody's saying that bring another pathologist. And yeah, that's very good. if Jesus Christ come down and said the same thing that happened, will this family accept it, or there will be another one investigation? The police are not coming out because they got nothing new to say. You come in Canada and you ask about anything, they can say, well, yes, we can't give you information now because it's still ongoing. It's still ongoing. And nobody give you information, especially with the cloud that's going on there, that nobody knows what's going on. Wait till everything's done. Then you can come back and give the right stuff that happened. So Jabord was screaming that he was going on, that this girl was murdered and this girl was murdered. The pathologist, if you were looking the day at the Georgetown Hospital, the guy with the blue shirt, the white guy that came from cyanide, they had people pushing him and he alone walking. Where were the police to protect these people? Where were the police to protect these guys? If they only come out and stand on the balcony and making a suggestion, they would be killed by then, because everybody was roaming. They don't want to hear what the autopsy says. They want a version, and the opposition there is anything that can hold this country divided by now to November, they will do it. We lived through that from 1964 to then, and it's not going to stop. So somebody has to do something to make sure that this kind of a nightmare that the Guyanese people live in must go. And you have to have brutal force. If the police open fire, or the police shooting, the police don't do nothing, or the police accommodate all these people. So where is the line? Where is the line that the police can take control? You got to bring them out and hold the port on the street for safety.
I have a question. Thank you very much. I have a question for you before you go.
Yeah.
You're living in one of the most respected countries. Canada, I get from your word.
Yeah.
Do the police regularly come out and use live rounds on any protesters?
No.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And I was looking at the same thing in the hospital, and you had the guy from AGP News. Oh, look at here! I got two bullets here, and one was a live shot. This was a live shot, and he was rallying up the troops there. And that guy there is a total, I don't want to call it, but he is the one who drives anywhere that there is problems, like Mocha and everywhere. He is there. Travis Chase. He is anywhere that can show the bad side of this country. That's where he is. He is never nowhere that peace and happiness goes on. So there are the negativity, and these on the YouTube and everything else. Now that the girl from England that was with them, giving all her thing like whatever she is, a good investigator. Now they turn against her. The girl grandmother I saw on the thing, I don't know if it's true or lie, she gone into medical, whatever it is that she can't remember and she can't give statement. So somebody got to advise her, don't give no statement because you're going to get in trouble. So these are the people who were there. They're the ones who got to say what was going on.
Thank you very much.
These are the things what you guys don't see.
Thank you very much for your contribution, and we've taken what you've said on board. Again, your opinion is only that, your opinion. Until you can come with factual information to say that this is actually what happened, is nothing but an opinion. Now, I have seen Travis Chase, and I'm going to defend him here, go across the length and breadth of Guyana, take in news information, not only during what you term the bad times or the negative things, but Travis is a well-respected journalist here in Guyana. The HGB PTV News House is a respected media agency, even though they may have their issues as all others have had. I'm having the next call. Good evening to you. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. This is Dr. France, and Mr. Kissoon is here also.
Travis Chase is also, I would say, he embellishes the news, and he's anti-government.
Well, we've seen that all over. Go ahead.
Good night, Dr. France.
Good night to you.
And good night, Mr. Kissoon. You guys, Dr. France, you in the opposition. Why you guys don't pay the family to keep the body to campaign for the election? You think it could help you?
That is not a job for the opposition. nor
Yeah,
is it
because
anything specific for my political parties. I've been very clear with regard to where I stand with the Adrianna Young.
And keep the body, y'all could go a political rally.
But no one has asked for such. There is no need for such. If that is what you think an opposition party should do, then that is not a view that we share similar sentiments with.
What he's saying.
Dr. France, the lady who had her visa canceled and got sent home back from the U.S. to Guyana, with all she mouthed when she came out, Cherry Jagan International, if she's listening, she feel like a sent ice. Okay, sir.
You're feeling for her?
Very much.
That is what you're saying?
No. He said you will understand that.
No. I understand clearly what he's saying.
No, he said she feel like a sent ice.
Now, what
means
happens with any Guyanese citizen, it is their business. So the family is within their right to keep that body as long as they care to. And if they're supported by anyone and they're willing to accept that support, that is for the family to do. It is not for us who are on the outside to give us an input and say that, oh, the opposition should do this, or the government should do this or not. What we have asked and what Anug has asked is for a fair, for a transparent process, and for us to respect the authorities. We have asked for there not to be besmirching of all of the individuals who are involved, the lawyers, the doctors, the nurses, the persons who would have stored the body, the persons who are coming in to do the investigation, those who will release the results. Please don't. So when people jump and say that, for example, yes, Travis Chase may be pro-opposition. As they say, Gordon Mosley is pro-opposition. But we've also seen the Chronicle, pro-government, hardly giving a space to the opposition. Newsroom, pro-government. The false news agencies that are not true news agencies, Guyana Daily News, that is not even a rag for any sort of media house. So we have pro-government, pro-opposition, and then we still have some that maintain some level of independence. And the one that comes to mind, but Mr. Kissoon is at war with them, is the Stabrook News. Which for you, in the last 5 years,
but you have
gone.
to define what we have a call. You have to define what is independent.
Now, hi, good evening to you. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. Dr. France, Mr. Kissoon, we're here. Thank you for coming on, and let's have your contribution.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello? What happened?
This caller seems to be silent.
It can't be your phone.
No, it's not a phone. Okay, we'll have to cut you off. You can call back again. Yes. So we know that we have media houses and now they're influencers. And we've seen a call by none other than VP himself, and I keep referring to him because he does all of the press conference on Thursday, for there to be added recognition of social media influencers, online media houses. We've also seen a pushback from the Guyana Press Association and they being called out by the incumbent government in that what they have in their constitution does not permit some of these online media agencies. And for example, we're here with the blessing of none other than the Guyanese critic, Michael Rodriguez, who has a huge following and online presence. And I'm thankful, and I've always mentioned that, yes, I may call out critic for some of the things that he does and the manner in which he does it. But by virtue of having such a platform open to all, and you know that you have asked for persons from the government side, from the opposition side, civil society, non-governmental organizations to come on your show, and they've refused. One reason or the other, whatever they've refused. We do know that we have to find some way, and going forward, we cannot be stuck in archaic legal definitions of what constitutes a media house, because we're dealing with evolving times. We are now living in an age of artificial intelligence, social media, that can change the outlook of a country, that can change the results of an election in a snap of the finger. We have to find ways and means whereby we can bring these on board and have them represented. Good evening to you.
Landline isn't working.
Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. Dr. France, Mr. Kissoon, your co-host, the two co-hosts. Kindly go ahead and make your contribution.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, that caller was just called. You can tell he's a PVP supporter like Freddie Kissoon.
Well, I wouldn't jump to such levels. I try not to put people into brackets. I allow them to have their opinions.
You can feel the way that he's talking. He sounds like a jackass. Anyway,
No, I retract that.
You were saying something about prices, and Mr. Kissoon interrupt. Can you continue with that conversation?
Prices?
Prices. What were we addressing?
Talking about beer.
Oh yeah,
banks,
yeah.
beer
So
and
I was speaking about the cost of doing business where you have energy that is readily available, and so we have supported as a political party, and we have supported the gas to energy project. It is much needed. The benefits will be huge for Guyana. Right. This will help us to ease the burden on the population for the high cost that we pay for electricity. The byproducts that we're going to have, it's going to be positive, and that is going to bring in revenue, and there will be less dependence on what we call heavy fuels. Now, the current gas energy project as it stands cannot give us all of the energy that we would need to diversify our economy. And so we've already seen motions for a possible second gas energy project being out there. We would support it. However, what we have always called for is for there to be transparency and accountability in any project.
Don't go off the line.
Especially one of such magnitude.
Don't go off the line, caller. You still there?
Where our country goes into the future.
You said the man sung like the man is PPP and he sung like a jackass. Do you know who you're talking to? You're talking to the leader of an opposition party sitting down right there. So why is the man a jackass? Because he sounds like a PPP.
Because he sounds like a jackass. He's telling man they should keep the body and campaign.
But the man has a right to. The man has a right to his opinion. The man has a right to his opinion.
Like he got no sense.
What make you think you got sense?
Thank you, caller. Again,
I couldn't say something like that.
I will repeat for all. Let us try, and I have called for all. Do some introspection. Look at where the fault lies.
Mr. Freddie, it's the same thing you had going on with last Wednesday.
Listen.
The show was an hour and you take
you're gonna listen to me, or you singing like a jackass too?
No.
You say the man is a PPP.
Yes.
But the man has you're gonna listen to me? But the man has a right to his say. For the past hour and a half, an opposition leader is addressing the people right on this forum here. So why
was he telling the man he could take the Biden campaign with
that's his opinion.
Not a person with sense to say something like that.
Thank you, sir.
That's why he sounds like a guy.
We welcome your contribution. Again, your opinion is but that. And we respect your opinion just as we respect the opinion of the last caller. We may not always coincide in terms of our views. And this is something that I want to appeal. I want to appeal to all Guyanese in that not every time you're going to have views that coincide, but we can be respectful. We must agree to disagree if needs be. We must be the bigger person. No, the call is still here. We must always try to be the bigger person. If we want to take our country forward, there is no need for us to descend into gutter politics, for us to be nasty, for us to go like the trolls that are online. We know they come from all sides. There's no need for us. We must have respect for our opponents. We must have respect for those persons who are our friends, who are our followers.
Let's see.
Okay? Thank you very much, caller.
Our time is, we have about a minute more. Operator.
He didn't give you the 10 minutes. Notice.
What we are? How much more time we have?
So and I must call out everyone here. We have seen leaders there calling persons by various monikers and names. Slack bucket, bucket load of feces, and that's putting it nicely. There is no need
we
for
have
such.
2 minutes more.
And as such, we need to always be the bigger person, and that is what I stand for. That is what my humble little party stands for, and hopefully it can make a difference. Okay, we have an incoming call. Good evening to you. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. You're lucky to be on. We have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello?
France?
Hi. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
Good evening to you. Welcome to the program. Make your contribution, please.
Well, thank you.
Go on, sir. Hello?
Hello? Yeah. This is the a WhatsApp call, and so when the other call comes, it affects this one. Go ahead, Mr. Harry Chan.
Yeah, you're a cricket fan, aren't you?
Most certainly. I love sports. Any sport you can talk to me about.
Well, why can't Imlach become the captain for the West Indies cricket team instead of Chase?
That's a good question, and that's something that the discussion can go on with myself for hours. I'm actually going to go on a sports program very soon. I'm lining up a sports program that I'm going to host. More to do with football, but I do have friends in the cricket fraternity. What I can tell you for sure is that the Cricket West Indies, as it currently exists, they had their criteria with regard to what is it that they need to select a captain. They would have had an extensive process whereby 6 persons were nominated. They were interviewed, and from the 6, I think 3 of the 6 went a second round of interviews. And from that one, Roston Chase was selected to lead the test team. We know that Mr. Shea Hope is going to lead the one-day team and the T20 team. Now, if you ask me personally, I don't think that Mr. Chase in this moment is the best candidate to lead the West Indies cricket as it is, because by virtue of the fact that for me, he may not be able to make the team. The selectors and the ones who have the decision, they thought differently. I do think that Tevin Imlach, albeit successful with the Guyanese Harpy Eagles for the last 2 seasons, do need some more time to consolidate his space in the West Indies setup. And for that reason, I would have gone back to Jason Holder and probably have Joshua De Silva and Tevin Imlach as his deputies, whereby they can learn from him for the next 2 years. And then we can probably have captains who can make the team by their own merit and then lead them with some experience. So that's where we are.
Thanks for coming through.
Thank you very much.
I normally come from...
Thank you, Dr. France, and I hope to see you at GCC when I come to Guyana.
Most certainly. I'm almost always there. Once you get on to the president, Mr. Jonathan Yearwood, he will relay that message to me, and we can have all of our chat about
good. Thanks for coming through. We've got to go.
Mr. Kissoon with me.
Most certainly. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Thanks for being with us. Unfortunately, time just flew. We had a co-host this evening, Dr. Mark France, the chairman of the party, the smaller third party, ANUG. He co-chaired the party with us, and he brought for 20 minutes to showcase one of the 2 shows that he says should be respected, and he respects that 2 show, and so he thought we should showcase the 2 show. That was for the first 20 minutes in case you missed it. Apart from that, it has been a nice evening with Dr. France as the co-host. We will see you on Monday. Take care. Have a pleasant weekend on behalf of Dr. Mark France. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.